Would you work for a dream or burn out for one? At Apple, some people build products that change the world. Others get slowly drained by the system that makes them. Technology keeps advancing, but the people behind it, they are getting quieter.
Welcome to Apple, one of the most innovative companies on earth. But behind the products, there's an HR story you probably haven't heard.
Headache for Apple. There have been allegations of extremely long working hours, underage employees, and unsafe conditions at one of its biggest Chinese suppliers, Foxconn. Alison Kosik is at the New York Stock Exchange. Alison, what does Apple say about all this?
Hey, Frederica, so coming out defending its reputation, its CEO, Tim Cook, he spoke at a tech conference in California yesterday. He said Apple will not stand for any abuses at suppliers, factories in China, or anywhere else. Cook said a top priority is stopping suppliers from employing kids. In fact, he's calling that a firing offense now, but he did concede that there are instances of long working hours, which is a violation of Apple's work rules. Now, this whole uproar, it actually goes back to 2010 when several Foxconn workers committed suicide. Since then, allegations of unsafe conditions have got louder and louder. Foxconn and other manufacturers are currently being investigated this week by an independent labor group that was actually brought in by Apple. Frederica?
So, Alison, has this in any way kind of affected the bottom line for Apple?
And that's what's interesting. It hasn't. Apple's actually posted record iPad, iPhone, Mac sales last quarter, and overall, its shares are doing really well. Its shares are over $500. That's how they're trading these days. As for the overall market, it's looking at the opening higher on word out of China saying it will keep buying European bonds, doing its bit to help the debt situation in Europe. Frederica?
All right, Alison Kosik, thanks so much at the New York Stock Exchange.
It's easy to look at those factory scenarios and think this is a supply chain issue, something far away, someone else's system. But what if it's not the full story? Apple is a company that obsesses over design, precision, control, down to the millimeter. So when it comes to basic workers' rights, why does Apple look the other way? If Apple allows problems outside its walls, what might be happening inside? If they ignore abuse in the factories, could that same attitude be putting pressure on the people in the office too? If a company doesn't care about their people, can it really change the world? Apple's HR problem only in its oversized supply chain. But before we talk more about today, let's go back for a moment. Let me take you to where Apple's story really began. It all started in a little garage in California. A young guy, totally obsessed with tech and design, dreamed about how people could connect with machines in a whole new way. Steve Jobs. In 1976, he and his friend Steve Wozniak built their first computer. That moment kicks off the personal computer revolution. A few years later, Apple went public. They launched the Macintosh and suddenly graphic interfaces were everywhere. But in 1985, Jobs was forced out of the very company he started. He didn't quit though. He started next and got involved with Pixar. Then, about a decade later, he came back to Apple with a brand new OS and a new vision. And after that, the iMac, iPad, and iPhone. Apple went from struggling to becoming one of the most powerful companies on the planet. Jobs was the kind of person who would tear it all down just to make something truly great. He once said, "The only way to do great work is to love what you do." But today, Apple doesn't feel like a place built on love anymore. It feels like a place built on pressure. Foxconn shows us the dark side of supply chain, but Apple's headquarters is not much brighter. One Apple engineer tried to run a simple anonymous survey asking colleagues about pay equity. The company investigated her. She was pushed out. In 2024, the U.S. Labor Board ruled that Apple violated her right to speak. And that's just the tip of iceberg. Apple used to say think different, but they on platforms like Blend, employees say we are not working, we are serving a god. Perfection has become pressure. Work shouldn't just be about performance scores and silent meetings, but today Apple seems to be forgetting that. Apple's problem isn't just strict management, it's something deeper. It's a lack of psychological safety. In class, we learn about transformational leadership. Great leaders encourage people to speak up, share ideas, and even make mistakes. But for that to happen, staff need to feel safe, safe to be honest, and safe to fail. And from the Gallup Q12 model, we know that people need feedback, recognition, and a chance to grow, to stay engaged. But at Apple, an engineering who tried to run a pay transparency survey was investigated on Blend. 56% of Apple employees say that they are thinking about leaving. Many say that they are not happy with the hybrid work policy. One person put it simply, leadership just doesn't understand us. So the number shows that how serious the problem is. Apple's eNPS score is only 16. On Glassdoor, employees rate work-life balance just 3.5 out of 5. Common words like stress, pressure, cannot breathe. At the end of the day, a workplace where people are afraid to speak up, that kind of environment doesn't inspire motivation, and it doesn't lead to real innovation. So, dear CEO and board members, I have just one recommendation today. Start a real employee psychological safety program and set up a truly anonymous feedback channel. How? Send out a stress check-in survey every quarter. Hold a non-performance check in every month. Just a simple conversation between manager and team. How are you feeling? Not what did you achieve? Will a company really be remembered? It's not about how many iPhones a company sells. It's about whether it truly respects the people who had the courage to dream them. Okay, guys, thanks for listening. This is TongZhu's page. Hope you're enjoying that.